Sometimes the healthiest thing that we can do for our mental health isn't another, productivity hack or an attempt to quote unquote fix ourselves, but just going for a quiet walk and unplugging to allow our nervous system to breathe and decompress and relax. Hi, I'm Scarlett Classic, and welcome to Classic Advice, a mental health podcast offering guidance for resilient souls, anchoring calm amid the chaos. I've mentioned in a previous episode my anchor walks, and I wanted to do an entirely separate episode all about it because I've recently started intentionally, when I go for my evening walks with my dogs, is I don't listen to anything. Before, I would listen to music or I would, have a podcast going. And the change that I've done is I intentionally unplug when I'm on these walks. I don't listen to anything, not a podcast, music, nothing. It's just me walking with my dogs in nature and giving myself this time to decompress and de-stress and just let my thoughts come and go as they may and just that, and just relax. And it's amazing how relaxing these walks have been. And I wanted to have a name for them. So I came up with anchor walks, which I thought was very on brand for the show. But just the reason that I like to say, anchoring calm amid the chaos and all of that is because I like being grounded and really being intentional on staying grounded and staying relaxed and not letting myself get caught up in stress, but intentionally taking time to decompress and not because sometimes because I lived in survival mode for many, many years. And when you're in that mental state, you're on all the time. And I want to be very intentional that I don't slip back into that. And as, a coping technique that I had in the past where I had to be because it was survival. But, we're not meant to be on all the time, and modern life, even if you're not, experiencing trauma, but just this life that we all live, we're very busy, and our brains can get overstimulated with everything, with, notifications on your phone, to noise, like, my job is noisy, heavy equipment going and the whole 9 yards. There's pressure from just day-to-day life to make sure that you get everything done and all of that. And then, there's this constant input that we have with all of that, and almost like this constant urgency because we have this constant input all the time with the phone and the noise and all the things, right? And you can even have a really good day. But even on really good days, our nervous systems can be overloaded with all the noise, with all the notifications, with all the emails, with all the pressure. And sometimes one of the really difficult things with anxiety or burnout or just our nervous systems, we can sometimes become used to all that noise. And when it's turned off, when we intentionally unplug, we don't know what to do with ourselves. And it's almost like it's instant boredom because we don't have that input. And I think that's why staying anchored or staying grounded and being really intentional in, I'm someone that really loves routines or consistency. So this really matters to me. I thrive on routine when I have, the regularness of everything. And me going for these walks and making it a part of my routine, I look forward to it in my evenings because I know that I'll get that time to relax. I know that it's something that I really now look forward to because it's time that I decompress. I sleep better because of it, because I'm relaxing at the end of my day, because I do it in the evening. So I relax at the very end of my day, and then I come in, this is after I've done all the chores, I've done all the work, and then that's one of the last things that I do in my day. And it's so grounding, and it gets me into a peaceful place before I climb into bed for the night. So what does your nervous system feel like lately? Do you feel like you're on edge? Do you feel like when you don't have input, you're almost nervous? That's a good sign that you need some time to decompress and de-stress and let those thoughts come. Uncomfortable thoughts might come. You might not. You might be putting off thinking about certain things. But those, it's important to let your mind wander sometimes. And when you sit in silence, do you constantly, is your instinct to reach for your phone so that you have input so you don't have to think about the things? Do you have anything in your life right now that truly helps you get anchored or get grounded? Because peace isn't just the absence of chaos. It's sometimes this intentional practice of slowing down before chaos takes over. My anchor walks are so simple, on purpose. I'm not podcasting. There's no music, or I'm not listening to a podcast. I'm not doom scrolling. I'm not trying to get my to-do list done. I'm just moving my body, which is great for lymphatic flow, draining your limbic system or whatever. And being in nature is so good for your mental health. Getting that fresh air, deep breathing while you're walking, listening to the birds. I have lots of birds that have migrated back to the property from winter. They're so nice to listen to. I've got a woodpecker too that's, doing his thing around. Walking gives your body something to do with the stress, because when we are stressed out, if you give your body, your physical body, something to do, it's such a great stress reliever, because sometimes we go into that fight, flight, or freeze response. And when you're stressed out, if you give your body physically something to do and you put it in motion, it lets it go into that. It gives it something to do. It puts it in motion, and instead of holding on to that stress, it lets you get it out. I'm not exactly sure on all the science, but it lets you get that stress out by just walking. Walking is so good for you. It's low impact. It's not like running where you're kind of jarring your joints and all that. It reduces that cortisol, your cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone. It can improve your mood regulation. I feel so much better on that department. It can help you just decrease symptoms of anxiety. It improves our emotional, our mood and our emotions, because you're letting your mind wander and you're letting yourself process these things. And when you process those things, then you don't tend to ruminate on them afterwards. Sometimes our brains don't need more input. They need less. And your nervous system needs that room to breathe in the quiet. Are you constantly consuming information because the quiet and the silence feels uncomfortable? I would pay attention to what thoughts come up when you finally let yourself slow down and enjoy the quiet and the peace. It might be something that you need to sit in, and it might be uncomfortable. But once you let the wave pass and you sit in it, typically we feel a lot better after. What would happen if you stop trying to outrun your emotions for a minute because you keep just flooding your brain with input so you don't have to think about those uncomfortable thoughts and feelings? Lately, I've really been making this a priority because sometimes I find myself thinking I don't have time, or I'm too tired, or I'm too sore. But even on the days when I'm not feeling the best, or I convince myself that I don't have time, but I do it anyways, even if it's just for a short time. Sometimes it might not be, 30 minutes. I like to try to at least get 30 minutes, but sometimes if, you're sore, you need to let your body recuperate. So I'll go for 5 minutes. The days that I make this a priority, I feel a lot better. It's a nice, healthy habit that I really enjoy. Walking, stretching, journaling, sleep, making sure that we're hydrated. All of these things are great habits that if we learn to make the time for these things, because they're important, because they really do help our mental health. We make time for the things that are important to us. That's just the way it is. And when we really decide that, hey, this one thing, this is important to me, and I'm going to start making this a priority. It's cool to see the effects after, since I've started making this a priority. So what grounding habits do you abandon when life gets stressful because you just don't have time? Are you waiting for burnout to hit you first? Yeah, I've been there. What's something small, a small daily habit that you really enjoy that makes you feel more like yourself? What's a small daily habit that you would like to start incorporating into your day? Because the little things that help us stay grounded rarely feel, urgent until we realize how much they really were helping us feel grounded and feel better. In your anchor walk, your version of my, anchor walk, quote unquote, might not be a walk. Maybe it's sitting by the fire. Maybe it's reading or journaling or fishing or gardening, stretching, coffee on the porch, watching the sunrise or the sunset. It doesn't need to be a walk to be anchoring or grounding. It's whatever vibes with you, whatever clicks for you. The point isn't what it is. The point is what it does and how it anchors you in the moment. It's where your nervous system finally feels safe enough to just unclench. And having these routines to help you feel anchored, what are you going to do this week? How are you going to stay anchored through your days? You don't need to earn your rest or your peace. Your mind and my mind They were never designed to survive in that survival mode forever. So what are you gonna do today to get anchored and stay grounded? Thank you for tuning in to Classic Advice, guidance for resilient souls. May you stay anchored in what steadies you, rise resilient through what challenges you, and carry calm into whatever comes next. Take care. Love you.